Alright, how's it going, YouTube? This is NeonKurai from Planet Nerd, and I'm here to talk about Sony's press conference from E3 2014. Now, let me just start off by saying I am primarily an Xbox player. My friends are mostly Xbox players, but despite that, I'm not going to try to start any kind of console wars or anything like that. I'm just going to be as objective as I possibly can. Now, that being said, though, I feel like this press conference was kind of ironic because last year, after the debacle that was Microsoft's conference, Sony definitely made a point of saying how important games were and how it was primarily a gaming platform. But this year, they didn't really show all that much in terms of games. I mean, they had definitely had some stuff, but not as much as you would have expected. But we'll get to that when we get to it. So, first off, they started off with the Destiny gameplay trailer. Now, I'm definitely interested in Destiny. I'm definitely going to pick it up when it comes out. Probably going to get it on Xbox One, but yeah, whatever. So, always good to see more Destiny, and I'm admittedly hoping that the exclusive content that's going to be on PS4 isn't too extensive, because that kind of thing just in general bothers me when you have stuff that's exclusive to consoles. I mean, it's not as bad when it's cosmetic stuff like the armor they were showing in the skins and whatnot, but when it's like actual gameplay missions and stuff like that, or like weapons and whatnot, it just kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth, even if it's content that I can actually get because I'm on that specific system. But yeah, and they also announced that apparently on PS4, I don't remember if it's just PS4 or if it's also PS4 and PS3, but you can play the alpha actually starting, I believe, this Thursday. I don't really know why it's an alpha. I'm pretty sure the game is out of alpha stage at this point, but maybe they were just referring to it as that because it's going to be before the actual beta starts up in July. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. Let's see. After that, they went to the Order 1886. I still don't know a whole lot about this game. I mean, admittedly I haven't been actively looking into it, but I really haven't heard all that much concrete information about it. But the gameplay that they did show did look pretty cool. There was I don't even know what you'd call it. It was like a mutant werewolf thing. All I know is it started out looking like a zombie. In fact, the scene looked very reminiscent of one of the first scenes in the very first Resident Evil. And he turns around and he suddenly transforms into a werewolf. Like, alright. And I have to say, the game actually looks pretty nice. Like, I was thinking, you know, is this in-game or is this pre-rendered? But then it just made that seamless transition into gameplay, and yep, it is actual gameplay footage. So, that looked pretty good. What else? After that, they went into an indie game called Entwined, which apparently is actually going up for download today on PS4. It looked pretty good, I guess. Looked pretty impressive for a studio's very first game ever. So, there's that. Don't have too much to say about that. I talked a bit about the infamous Second Son DLC, which is called First Light. And again, I can't say a whole lot about this in particular because I have not yet played Infamous Second Son. I am definitely an Infamous fan, though. I've played the first two. I've really enjoyed both of those. But I can't really speak for this because, again, I haven't played Second Son, so I don't really know a whole lot about the particular character. I think her name is Fetch, or something like that, the character with the neon powers. So I can't really speak to her personality or backstory or what kind of potential a story starring her would have. But, well, it's more Infamous, so, you know, how bad could it really be? After that, they showed off Little Big Planet 3. thought it was really interesting how they actually have new characters, because before all four players would just play as the Sackboy, and they were all pretty much the same, at least in terms of their gameplay. So it's pretty cool to see that you can have four-player co-op, and all four players will actually have their own different abilities, and they'll all each have something unique to contribute, and you can actually solve puzzles in multiple different ways using different combinations of characters. So that's pretty cool that they're introducing something like that into it. Next, they showed Bloodborne, which is made by From Software, the same guys that made Demon Souls and Dark Souls, and of course Dark Souls 2, which just recently came out. Now, this game looks really interesting because it seems like it might be an entry in the Souls series. I mean, it doesn't have Souls in the name, of course, but there was actually gameplay footage that was, I think, leaked not too long ago, and it looked very similar to Demon Souls and Dark Souls, with the exception of the fact that there were actually firearms. Like, the guy was actually using a gun. I think he had like a sword in one hand and a gun in the other hand. And they even had the, what's it called, like the mist gate that you walk through before the boss fight. So I'm definitely interested in that, and I'm really hoping it's not a PS4 exclusive, because again, I probably won't be getting a PS4 immediately. I'm probably going to get a Xbox One first, but I may end up getting a PS4 sometime down the line. But hopefully that makes its way onto either Xbox One or Steam. And hopefully if it does get to Steam, it's a good, at least a decent port. I heard that the Dark Souls 2 port was better than the port of the original Dark Souls. But anyways, oh, and speaking of that game, the setting looks really interesting. It looks, I can't really say modern, but it's like, it almost looks like it's set in like the Victorian era instead of like more medieval like the other Souls games. So that should be interesting. It kind of opens the door for more technology. Like I said, the firearms and maybe some steam-powered technology or something like that. And it definitely could be a good change of scenery compared to the first two games, or the first three games, I should say. What else do we have? After that, they showed Far Cry 4, which the setting looked pretty good. Again, it's a nice change of pace, I think, from the island from Far Cry 3. But honestly, I haven't really played a whole lot of Fallout, or Far Cry, that is. But it looks pretty interesting. I'm interested to see what kind of mechanics they bring into it, and yeah, they actually showed a little bit of it during the Ubisoft conference, and it looked interesting. The bad guy seems, I don't know if I'd call him stereotypical like some people are. I think they're making that comparison mostly because of the guy from Far Cry 3 who also seemed like he was kind of a psychopath. But I don't know. I mean, we'll see, I guess. We'll see how it goes. Then there was Dead Island 2. This trailer was is very stark contrast to the trailer for the first Dead Island, which was very dramatic and kind of gloomy and slow motion, and the melancholy nature of it. I feel like they kind of realized that trailer kind of deceived everybody when it came out and made people think that it was going to be something that it ended up not being. So here they just went with what they knew their game was going to be and didn't really try to take it too seriously. And you have this jogger who's running around listening to music, and he somehow doesn't notice all this carnage that's going on around him. And then, of course, he turns into a zombie, and I mean, I can't say that I'm that excited for it, but we'll see how it ends up, I guess. I mean, that's kind of a running theme with a lot of these things, is just we'll see how it goes, because there's only so much you can really tell from just a purely CG trailer. And I mean, CG trailers in them of themselves aren't that bad, but I feel like you should only really show a CG trailer after you've already given people some idea of what your game is gonna look like and how it's gonna play. But anyways, Magicka 2, I don't really know a whole lot about the first Magicka. I've heard that it's really good. I think it was Angry Joe that really liked it. And yeah, that's about all I can say about it. I heard the first one was good, and that's about it. Though I imagine that PETA is gonna be all over them for having the guy kill that cat like that. Then after that, they mostly got into the indie games, and there were a lot of there weren't a lot of indie games per se, but they put a lot of emphasis on the indie games. Like they showed Let It Die, which looked okay, I guess. I mean, to be honest, it looked a little bit generic, or it's just a guy going around killing people in some industrial environment, and yeah, it didn't look all that good to me. And then there was, I have no idea how to pronounce it. It's like Abzu. It's like ABZU, which seemed to focus on water. It had a nice art style at the very least. Kind of that minimalistic style that indie games these days often have. I mean, I can't speak for the gameplay because I don't know a whole lot about it. I mean, this is the first I've ever heard of it. But the indie game that really interests me at this point is No Man's Sky. I've actually been interested in this game for a while now. I've been looking into it on Steam and stuff like that, and it definitely looks really cool. They have a really nice looking color palette and a really good looking art design, and it's minimalistic, but it doesn't look too simplistic, if that makes sense. It's kind of stylized, especially with the very bright and vibrant colors that you see on pretty much everything. And it's really interesting how you can actually go to different planets and there'll actually be different terrain and different creatures that you might encounter, and then you can just seamlessly go up into space. And I'm actually hoping they have something like that in Destiny, where you can just hop in your ship and fly off into space and actually manually control your ship. So hopefully they have something like that. And No Man's Sky, I'm definitely interested in this game, so I'm definitely going to be looking into this some more. After that, they kind of went into the more peripheral side of things. They were talking about their YouTube integration, which is pretty cool, especially if you do Let's Play videos, of course, like we do here on Planet Nerd, or at least we're going to. We kind of only just started this channel, so we haven't had too much of a chance to do anything like that thus far. But it's pretty cool how you can actually upload stuff directly to YouTube. I like that. PlayStation Now seems pretty convenient. They were saying that you could use the streaming service without a PS4 if you have a Sony television, though I'm not really sure how many people realistically own a Sony television, and I doubt that many people are going to go out and buy it for the sake of having PlayStation Now, because I'm fairly certain it would be a lot more expensive than just buying a PS4. One thing that really interested me, though, was Mortal Kombat 10. I am a big fighting game fan. I love Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Tekken, Marvel vs. Capcom, King of Fighters, everything like that. So I'm definitely interested in Mortal Kombat 10, or Mortal Kombat X, I think is the official name for it, actually. And you could definitely see that NetherRealm took some cues from their previous game, Injustice. Like, you could see that they were interacting with the stages. Like, Scorpion grabbed the tree branch and was hitting Sub-Zero over the face with it, and earlier he actually swung on the tree branch and kicked Sub-Zero in the face. And there was another part where one of the new characters that they showed, she's like a insectoid lady sort of thing. She grabbed one of the barrels that was in the background and threw it at the other new character, which is like a, I don't even know how to describe him. He's like a big, muscular guy with a little kid on his back. I think it's a little kid of some sort. Maybe it's like a pygmy demon. I don't know. But and it makes me wonder if different characters will interact with the environments in different ways, like they did in Injustice. Like there was one part where the insect character actually did like a wall jump sort of maneuver, and there were certain characters, if the characters in Injustice were more agile characters, that would actually do stuff like that. They would like jump off the walls or like bounce off of obstacles to give them more maneuverability, whereas the bigger characters would just like pick up an object and just like throw it or like beat somebody over the head with it. So it would be interesting if they had something like that. I don't know per se how that would affect the tournament scene, because I feel like some people kind of got tired of the interactables, especially the fact that certain characters had advantage on certain stages. So I don't really know how well that will work out. They might be better served just making it a little bit more streamlined and not making interactables such a huge part of it. And I would definitely say they should not make the interactables unblockable like they were in Injustice, because that just got annoying. But it definitely looked good. I really wish it looked as good as it did in the trailer that they first showed, which unfortunately turned out to be just CG, but it still looked pretty good for a next-gen game. So definitely I'm interested in that. After that, they came out with Powers, which is a new series by Brian Michael Bendis, basically about like a detective or duo of detectives, and they like solve murders for superpowered beings. Like if a superhero ends up dead, they try to figure out what happened to him or something like that. It sounds like an interesting concept. It sort of reminds me actually of The Wolf Among Us by Telltale Games, where it's like a detective story but with like almost like a supernatural element to it. So that should be interesting, and Brian Michael Bendis is definitely a good writer, so it should be interesting. He's been writing for Marvel Comics for quite a while now. He's best known, I would think, for his Ultimate Spider-Man series, which is actually pretty good. I would definitely suggest giving it a read if you're interested in the Spider-Man character at all. So that should be interesting. Let's see, after that they showed The Last of Us Remastered, which of course people went just completely crazy over. I've actually not played The Last of Us. I don't know why. I just never was all that interested in it. I mean, maybe at some point I'll look into it. Maybe, well, I was going to say maybe now that they're coming out with the remastered, but like I said, I'm probably going to be on Xbox One anyway, so I don't know. Maybe I'll look into The Last of Us at some point. I mean, it's gotten such rave reviews that, yeah, it might be worth checking out. What else? They also, speaking of remastered, they also showed Grand Theft Auto 5, which is coming out on next gen, which of course we all knew was going to happen anyways before the game even came out on current gen. They haven't actually said if it's going to just be PS4 though, or if it's going to be Xbox One as well. I mean, that would really suck, I would think, if it was just PS4. And once again, why is the game not on PC? I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe someday. Hopefully someday. I mean, Red Dead Redemption didn't come out for PC until like just recently. They only just recently said that it's coming out for PC. So, I don't know. Hopefully GTA 5 fares better in terms of getting a PC release. Then just imagine all the kinds of mods that we could have for that. What else? Metal Gear Solid 5. I am definitely a huge Metal Gear Solid fan. I've played pretty much all the games in the series, and I actually saw this trailer before the conference because it got leaked online, I think, last night, and I watched it this morning, but it was, of course, the Japanese version, so I couldn't actually understand the dialogue. But it looks pretty good. I'm wondering if that kid that they show in the trailer with the blonde hair is actually Liquid Snake. If you've played any of the Metal Gear Solid games, you probably know who Liquid Snake is. So it should be interesting to see how they go with the story in this one. They're definitely making this one a lot more serious, I think, and more, I don't want to say melancholy, but it's a story about like betrayal and revenge and whatnot, so I would imagine that they were trying to make it more dramatic and probably not have as much of the comedy of Metal Gear Solid in the past. Not that Metal Gear Solid is a comedically heavy game, but you know, it had its moments here and there that were pretty funny, but I feel like they're gonna tone that down a lot for this one and try to make it a lot more serious, especially after Ground Zeroes, if you know what happens in Ground Zeroes. Let's see, after that they showed some Arkham Knight gameplay, actually the first like actual gameplay for Arkham Knight, and there was that actual gameplay trailer before, but this is like actual gameplay, like you actually see somebody playing the game, and it looks really, really good. And I'm wondering about the Batmobile, like what happens if you run somebody over, because of course we all know Batman doesn't kill people, so like if you run someone over with the Batmobile, then what? Like, does it have some kind of device that just knocks them away, like a force field or like an electromagnetic thing, or what? But for some reason the thing has a giant like tank cannon on the top of it, and he's just blowing the crap out of other cars and whatnot. It's like, okay, so I guess we're supposed to just assume that they survived somehow. But definitely looks really good. And I'm wondering if Scarecrow is going to have a bigger role in this one, because it seems like they've been showing him very prominently lately. And I'm guessing it has something to do with that one Easter egg from Arkham City, where you go down into the boat and you find like Scarecrow's like secret lair, and he's got all this stuff that's in there. Look it up on YouTube if you don't know what I'm talking about. So I'm wondering if he's going to have a bigger role to play in the story. And also wondering who the Arkham Knight actually is, because apparently he's an entirely new character that DC has come up with the help of Jeff Johns, who is definitely a wonderful, just amazing comic book writer. So a lot of people actually are thinking that it's Jason Todd, which I don't think that it is. At least I don't hope that it is, because we've already seen Jason Todd have that same kind of persona where it's like, I'm better than Batman because I'm actually willing to kill people, and I feel like that would be a complete waste to just rehash that instead of just having it be an actual new character like they said it's going to be. But moving on to the last thing that they showed, which was Uncharted 4. I'm not a huge Uncharted fan. It seems like I'm saying that a lot. Like, I'm not a huge fan of some of these franchises, because, again, I'm primarily on Xbox. But I did play Uncharted 2. I thought it was pretty good. I haven't actually played any of the other games in the series, but I'm sure people are going to be really excited over this new one. So that's pretty much that. So overall, I thought this press conference was solid. It felt like it went on a little longer than it needed to, though, because they spent so much time talking about peripheral stuff and, you know, the Sony TV stuff and the streaming stuff and all that, and all the indie games, and they could have just cut it down a lot. I feel like it's ironic because before, like I was saying at the beginning, Sony last year was talking about how they had such an emphasis on games, whereas Microsoft was mostly about the peripheral stuff like the TV and the Kinect and whatnot. But this year is kind of like the roles are reversed, or Xbox was the one talking about mostly games. In fact, their press conference was just like game after game after game, whereas with this one, Sony spent like a good 45 minutes just talking about other stuff, and it just got kind of tiresome. I felt like they should have focused a little bit more on showing the actual games, and I wonder if maybe it has something to do with how E3 went last year. Maybe they felt a little bit overconfident. Maybe they were just complacent and they didn't feel like they really had to put in that extra effort, even though I feel like they should have, because Microsoft definitely brought their A game this year in terms of showing off new gameplay. But one of the things about that, though, is that I feel like Microsoft kind of has the advantage because their press conference is a lot earlier than Sony's. So Microsoft definitely has a better opportunity to show off new gameplay, even for multi-platform games. Like they showed, Rise of Rise of the Tomb Raider. I mean, technically not gameplay, but they still got to make the announcement that that game was in development. And, you know, Tomb Raider was mostly on the PlayStation systems, but Microsoft got to make the announcement because I guess their press conference was first, and they wanted to get the info out there. So that's another disadvantage that I think that Sony has, is the timing and just their perhaps complacency. But overall, their press conference wasn't too bad. It was solid. I just think that they should have focused a little bit more on the games like Microsoft did. But overall, I think this is going to be a good year for Sony. They've got some good stuff going on. They've got the PlayStation Now going, and they've got Last of Us, which people are of course gonna love, and they've got Uncharted coming out and everything. And a lot of these games that we're talking about have exclusive stuff. Like they have the exclusive stuff for Diablo, they have exclusive stuff for Destiny. I think they have exclusive stuff for what was it? I wonder if they have exclusive stuff for Far Cry. I don't know. But anyways, a lot of the stuff that they were talking about was how they have exclusives, or not exclusives, but like exclusive DLC and exclusive content. And I feel like that's one of the things that they're trying to focus more on. It's not, you know, these are the games that we have that Xbox doesn't have. For them, it's more like, okay, even though this game is multi-platform, here's why you should get it on our system instead of any of the other systems. Which I can't really say that it's a great strategy, but, you know, I mean, it seems like they don't have that many exclusives as of yet, other than like Uncharted and whatnot. So maybe that's what they decided to do until then. But I mean, it can't be working out that badly for them because they've been getting great sales ever since they released. So yeah, overall, I think Sony's in for a pretty decent year. And Sony fans definitely are in for a pretty decent year with all the stuff that they've got coming their way. So that about wraps up my thoughts on Sony's E3 press conference. Remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment on what your favorite game from the press conference was, what you want to see from Sony in the next year. And remember to tune into Planet Nerd for more videos from me and Risking Lamont and Wolf the Legend. And once again, remember to check out the League of YouTube Gamers for more quality YouTube conference. Wow, conference, I've said conference so many times. For more quality YouTube content. And we will see you guys next time.